Every year, each team in Major League Baseball sets a record throughout the season. Franchises or players within those franchises have set benchmarks that have never been achieved before. I'm here today to go over at least one record set for every team in the Big 2025. Let's begin with the Mets. Part of the September collapse can be attributed to them having 46 different people on the mound in a Mets uniform, which is the most in MLB history, while Pete Alonso is now the Mets home run king and a free agent. Juan Soto is now the all-time walk king, as he broke John Olerud's record for most walks in a season by a Met. In the StatCast department, Ryan Helsley now owns the fastest pitch ever thrown by a Met with this 103.8 mile-an-hour fastball. Taking our talents to South Beach, they had some issues with the run game this year. Sandy Alcantara gave up the most stolen bases in franchise history, and Edward Cabrera is right behind him. Now, this is more of an Agustin Ramirez problem, as the rookie catcher was worst in the league in both blocking and throwing run value. But having two different guys surpass your franchise record in steals given up shows some deeper issues that need to be smoothed out. Team 3 in the East, the Washington Nationals. Their best player in terms of B-WAR, James Wood, made some history this year. He struck out 221 times, which shattered the previous franchise mark of 199. This sets him firmly above Chris Davis for the third most of all time. Swinging on down to Atlanta, the Braves had a bit of an up and down year. Remember when I said the Mets broke the record for most pitchers in one year? Well, when Charlie Morton took the mound in game 162, he became the 46th pitcher to take the mound for the Braves, which ties the Mets for this year for the most pitchers ever. Besides on the mound, one category that needs to be improved is slugging in the shortstop department. Nick Allen now owns both the lowest OPS and slugging percentage for a Brave post-integration, with a minimum of 400 plate appearances. And finally, the Philadelphia Phillies. Over in the StatCast department, Yohan Duran was traded at the deadline and very quickly threw the fastest pitch in Phillies history at 103.3 miles an hour. In 2025, Zach Wheeler recorded the lowest whip by any Philly post-integration with a minimum of 15 starts. He broke his own record that he set last year, and it's good for 59th of all time. For the Central, 4 of the 5 teams have been around for about 140 years, so I had to get a little creative. Starting off with the Reds. Ke'Bryan Hayes almost had the best defensive season for a third baseman ever, but he didn't, so this is all about Elly De La Cruz. No surprise here, Elly De La Cruz is fast. Also no surprise here, Elly De La Cruz strikes out a lot. Elly set Reds franchise marks in both strikeouts and stolen bases for a player in their first 3 years. Looking ahead at Pittsburgh, they have a genuine generational talent on their hands, and they are going to lose him. Paul Skeens has the lowest post-integration ERA of any pitcher in their first 2 seasons. I'll say that again. He has the lowest earned run average ever post-integration for someone through 2 seasons. He's going to win the Cy Young Award this year, and it's not going to be all that close. Over in the StatCast department, O'Neal Cruz hit a ball 122.9 miles an hour, which is the highest exit velocity that has ever been recorded. He breaks his own record that he set last year. Plowing ahead to the Chicago Cubs. Our record breaker today is pitcher Matthew Boyd. There's a StatCast metric called running game that measures the pitcher's effectiveness in the running game and stopping steals, and Matthew Boyd set the record for the most net bases prevented by a Cubs pitcher, which was set last year by Shota. That's exciting. Team number 4, the St. Louis Cardinals. Rough season, guys. Honestly, I couldn't find a ton of uniqueness here, but this is what I came up with. Mason Wynn put up the highest outs above average of anyone in a Cardinals uniform, which makes him the second best defensive shortstop in Cardinals history. The regular season Brewers set a few records on their path to tying the franchise win record. Reliever Abner Uribe now owns the franchise record for most holds in a season, while Jacob Misiorowski set an MLB record for fewest games played by a rookie all-star in their rookie season, breaking Joe Page's record from 1944. Finally, the NL West. Starting with the San Francisco Giants. We all know at this point that Patrick Bailey is one of the best defensive catchers in the league, but did you know that he's having the best season ever? This year, he has the highest fielding run value ever measured by a catcher, and his 25 framing runs make up most of it. Honestly, I can't wait to see him with a challenge system next year at his disposal. Run value by challenge is absolutely going to be added to Baseball Savant next year, and Bailey will 100% be at the top of that list. Why wouldn't he? Moving on to San Diego. They had a few marks set in the StatCast department. When Mason Miller joined the team at the deadline, he almost immediately set the franchise record in pitch velocity with a 104.2 mile an hour fastball. And while Miller is all about fast, he has a teammate who is all about slow. This year, Yuki Matsui recorded the slowest pitch tempo ever measured by StatCast. With no one on, the pitch timer is 15 seconds. It takes him 20 seconds from when he gets the ball to when he throws the next pitch. So there's some tomfoolery at play here. The Colorado Rockies. Honestly, I mean, where do we even start? They had the worst run differential since 19 team 10. They have the most losses in franchise history. They have the worst team ERA in franchise history. They have the worst average, on-base percentage, and OPS in team history. And Michael Toglia, bless his soul, has the worst average by a Rocky in a season. On the bright side, Seth Halverson threw the fastest pitch for a Rocky in a season, so they've got that going for them. The next team is my Arizona Diamondbacks. As a fan of this team, I can tell you that the Achilles heel was the bullpen. The level of bullpen insecurity this year was historic. They tied the franchise record in blown saves with 29. They used 17 different players to record a save this season. Nobody in the history of Major League Baseball has used more than 14 players, and they used 17. Finally, the Dodgers will be the Dodgers. Shohei broke his own franchise record for home runs at 55. Over in the StatCast department, Edgardo Henriquez reached the highest pitch velocity in Dodgers history at 103.3 miles an hour, and Ohtani set the record for hardest exit velocity in a Dodgers uniform, with a 120 mile an hour home run off Bubba Chandler. On to the American League, starting with the crown jewel of the American League Central, the Chicago White Sox. A year removed from the worst win-loss record ever, the White Sox managed to break their record for most starting pitchers in a season, with 18 different guys taking the mound over the course of 2025. Plowing ahead to Detroit, it's been a tumultuous playoff race for the Tigers. Hidden in all of this is the fact that Riley Green struck out 202 times, which is the most in Tigers history. He is the first Tiger to be punched out over 200 times in a season. Over in the StatCast department, Tarek Skubal threw the fastest pitch in a Tigers uniform with a 102.6 mile an hour fastball. Staying in the StatCast department, we have the boys in blue, the Kansas City Royals. Coming back to that StatCast metric called running game that measures a pitcher's effectiveness in preventing steals, the Royals have been elite in this department. They have the most net bases prevented since the system started tracking in 2016, which means the 2025 Royals have the best steal prevention system in the past 10 years. This may be more of a Salvi, Freddie Fermin type stat, but it's still very random and very impressive. Next is the Cleveland Guardians. Jose Ramirez now has the most 30-30 games in Cleveland history. He is a Hall of Famer. For the Twins, honestly, I couldn't find that much. Maybe the most players traded away at the deadline. Alright, here's the AL West, starting off with the Angels of Anaheim. The Angels looked kinda promising to start the year, as they always do, and then they slipped slowly back into their old ways. They set franchise marks in both blown saves and strikeouts this year, both of which led the league. They also set a franchise mark in pitchers' use, adding to the blown save total, I'm sure. On the bright side though, Zach Neto put up his second straight 2020 season, which is nice. The Texas Rangers section of all of this is all about Nathan Eovaldi, because I haven't heard a single person outside of Rangers Savant talk about him. Before a rotator cuff strain took him out in late August, Eovaldi was rocking a 1.73 ERA, the lowest ever by a Ranger. His ERA plus was 211, the highest ever by a Ranger, and his whip was .854, which not only is the best for a Ranger, but it's top 20 all time. He would have led the AL in all of these categories if he was qualified. Heading to Houston, the Astros finally fell from grace as they missed the postseason for the first time since I was in high school. One guy who can't be blamed for that is Josh Hader. One, he's hurt, and two, he had the lowest expected batting average by an Astros pitcher at 157. I know that's a very abstract record, but frankly, it's okay to not talk about the Astros that much. Down in West Sacramento, the A's had a season. Nick Kurtz had one of the splashier rookie seasons ever, recording a 4-home run game, 19 bases in a single game, which ties the record. He also had the franchise's longest hit home run at 493 feet. Mason Miller as well managed to set a record. Before he got traded, he threw a 104.1 mile an hour fastball, which is the fastest ever in athletics history. I can't put into words how much I despise what ownership has done to this team. I have not shopped at Old Navy or The Gap since I found out who owns them. Not that I did shop at Old Navy before, but then I made sure that I definitely wouldn't go there. If you share some of my negative sentiment about this whole thing, I encourage other baseball fans to do the same. Go buy your polos somewhere else. This guy doesn't need any more of your money. Finally, Mariners. They shocked the monkey and finally won the AL West. It only took about 24 years. The big story here is Cal Raleigh. Most home runs by a catcher, most home runs by a switch hitter, only person with 20 from each side of the plate, and a bunch more stuff. What slipped by, however, was Josh Naylor swiping sacks. He's the only person listed at 5'10 or shorter and 235 or heavier to steal 30 bases in a season, and as you can see, he's in a league of his own. Finally, the AL East. Starting off with the Baltimore Orioles, it was a rough season for O's fans, but at least they got to watch a 30-year-old rookie for the first time. Tomoyuki Sagano debuted at the ripe age of 35, becoming the oldest rookie ever to wear an Orioles uniform. Next, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Despite Yandy Diaz being severely underrated again, Chandler Simpson was the player to watch this year. Heading over to the StatCast department, Simpson currently owns the lowest home to first time ever. He's the only person in StatCast history who's been able to make it from home to first in under 4 seconds on average. The only person. Over in the bullpen, rookie Mason Montgomery threw the fastest pitch in Rays history with a 102.2 mile-an-hour fastball back on April 1st. Now we have the Red Sox. There's a StatCast metric called outfield jump, which measures how well outfielders are able to track down and root out paths to the baseball. Ceddanne Rafaela is quickly becoming the GOAT of this metric. He covered 5.2 feet more than the average outfielder in 2025, which is the largest amount above average ever recorded. He broke Jackie Bradley Jr.'s Red Sox mark for outs above average for a fielder, and now he's only trailing 2017 Buxton for the highest OAA of any center fielder. The Toronto Blue Jays. I'm not gonna lie, despite how good this team has been, I couldn't find much in terms of broken records, so we will be heading down to the StatCast department. Vlad Jr. hit a ball 120.4 miles an hour this year, and that sets the franchise mark in terms of exit velocity. And finally, the New York Yankees. Aaron Judge has a higher slugging percentage this year than when he had 62 home runs. I'll let that marinate. There's more I can say there, but I'm just gonna leave it at that. And this feels like years ago, but back in April, the Yankees became the first team to hit 3 home runs on the first 3 pitches of any game in MLB history.
Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something about this season that you didn't know.